New Orleans is an iconic American city that's known for its rich culture, history, jazz, and of course, food. I recently had the pleasure of visiting, and I had a great time. I'm not a local, but I did a lot of research and spoke to locals. So here are 14 must-eat foods in New Orleans. Starting off at number 1 is of course gumbo, one of New Orleans' most iconic dishes. It's a type of stew that consists of stock, meat or shellfish, thickener, celery, bell peppers, and onions. I had gumbo twice during my trip. The first place was at Napoleon House. Their version is a seafood gumbo, and it's very savory and smooth. The seafood and rice add some nice texture by giving you something to chew. The other place I had gumbo was at Commander's Palace. This is a fine dining restaurant, and it's mandatory to dress to impress. Their version is chicken and sausage based, and if you order to share, they'll serve it in this mug. This gumbo has stronger spices compared to the one at Napoleon House, and a much deeper flavor. There's a lot of great restaurants that serve great gumbo, so you can get it from other restaurants instead of the ones I went to. At number 2, we're still at Napoleon House for red beans and rice. This is an iconic southern comfort food. It's warm, flavorful, and comforting. Just like gumbo, you can get a great version at almost any restaurant in New Orleans. At number 3, we're still at Napoleon House for jambalaya, which is another iconic southern comfort food. This is a savory rice dish with meat or seafood. Napoleon House serves a Creole jambalaya, which uses tomatoes, while the Cajun version doesn't use tomatoes. Just like the previous foods, you can get a great version at almost any restaurant in New Orleans. Number 4 is beignets, and you have to get at the original Café du Monde located in the French Quarter. This cafe has been around since 1862, and it's iconic. Beignets are a deep-fried pastry of French origin, and it's served with a lot of powdered sugar on top. Yes, it's sugar, not whatever infamous white powder you're thinking of. It's sweet and delicious, but it does get very messy to eat. You can also get their iconic coffee there, but I found it to be a bit bland. Number 5 is the most iconic sandwich in New Orleans, the po' boy. I got mine when getting breakfast at Daisy Duke's, but you can get it almost anywhere. A local recommended Johnny's Po' Boys, since it specializes in po' boys, and it's easy to reach in the French Quarter. It's like a normal sandwich, but what makes it distinct in New Orleans is the airy and crispy bread. I couldn't believe how soft it was when I first tried it. Number 6 is another iconic sandwich, the Muffuletta. I got mine at Napoleon House, where it's served warm instead of cold. It's a sandwich that pairs Sicilian sesame bread with olive salad, cold cuts, and cheese. It has a very savory taste profile. If you want to get it in the original place it was invented, you should get it at Central Grocery and Deli. Number 7 is oysters. These Louisiana oysters are pretty big and fat. When wandering around, you can find many places that serve oyster happy hour. I stumbled upon Desire Oyster Bar, and they have a happy hour of $1.50 per raw oyster and $5 per beer. If you like cooked oysters, head over to Arnaud's for their famous Oysters Bienville. Arnaud's is one of the oldest and most famous restaurants in New Orleans. It's founded in 1918, and dress shirts are mandatory for gentlemen. Just look at how well dressed everyone is. Oysters Bienville are baked oysters with a lot of savory ingredients on top, including shrimp, mushrooms, green onions, herbs, seasoning, and white wine sauce. I strongly recommend pairing it with their famous French 75 cocktail. The cocktail is bubbly and refreshing, with a nice tart flavor. At number 8, we're still at Arnaud's for souffle potatoes. These potatoes are puffed up with air and are very airy. Legend has it they were invented unintentionally by a French chef for the king, by plunging already fried potatoes into extremely hot oil to reheat them. If you eat it without dipping it in the béarnaise sauce, it kinda tastes bland, like you're eating air, so make sure to dip it. Number 9 is egg sardou. I got it at Brennan's, which is the fanciest place to get breakfast in New Orleans. It serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and while you don't need to dress to impress for breakfast, just don't show up like a bum. Egg sardou was originally invented at Antoine's restaurant, but the version at Brennan's is also good. It has poached eggs, crispy artichokes, Parmesan cream spinach, and chorron sauce. The cream spinach was so good. Number 10 is turtle soup, which is a must-try for adventurous eaters. I got it at Brennan's, but you can get it at most fine dining restaurants. It's made of 100% turtle meat, and I didn't expect turtle meat to be pretty lean and kinda chewy. The soup is more solid like a stew, and has a bold flavor from the sherry. Number 11 is bananas Foster, and you have to get it at Brennan's, where it was invented in 1951. You can get it at other restaurants, and you'll still have the tableside show, but it's not the same vibes as the original spot. You get to watch the bananas get flambéed in butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and rum. If you want to record the flame, make sure to use the slow-mo camera, or do some video editing after. This is a really sweet dessert, and I definitely feel a bit guilty having it for breakfast. Number 12 is bread pudding souffle, and I got it at Commander's Palace. This is made from bread soaked in eggs, cream, and sugar before being baked. It's then topped off with whiskey sauce, which is the white sauce. It's sweet with a bold whiskey flavor. After scooping some bites, it doesn't look as pretty anymore, but hey, it's still delicious. Number 13 is Vietnamese food. You might think this is very out of place, but New Orleans has a large Viet population. The third most iconic New Orleans sandwich is a Viet sandwich after all. I stopped by Lily's Cafe for Viet food while I was exploring the Garden District. Their version of the rice paper rolls has some additional ingredients compared to the traditional version, but still solid. Make sure to dip it in the peanut sauce. I do wish that the wrap was softer, that would have made it better. Make sure to get a Vietnamese iced coffee. It's strong, flavorful, and delicious. I ended up getting pho, which is one of the most iconic noodle soup dishes in the world. I'm from New York City, and a lot of people tell me that pho in NYC isn't even that good, so I have to see for myself. The broth looks good and has a stronger beef flavor than some places in NYC, but I still need to try more places in NYC and the rest of the states before I can yap about how NYC pho isn't even that good. Number 14 is seafood, and you have to get it at GW Finn's. It's a fine dining restaurant, so dress to impress. It's one of the last remaining restaurants in New Orleans that's constantly changing their menu. Some of the highlights include this yellowfin tartare, which was very refreshing and had Asian flavors. The grilled yellowfin is cooked outside, and it's as rare as it gets inside, and it's a nice mix between cooked and raw fish. The dry-aged swordfish was also great. It was crispy outside, soft and tender inside, and the sauce had olive oil and it was rich. The red snapper was also very soft and tender, and the rice underneath had the Creole flavor burst. Oh, and their free biscuit is also really fluffy, buttery, and delicious. This was my favorite restaurant when I visited, so if it seems a bit like I forced it on there, that might be why. You might notice that most of the recommendations are in the French Quarter and the Garden District. Those are the main areas that tourists will visit, so that's why this guide focuses on those areas. If you're staying in New Orleans for longer than 3 days, you can explore the other neighborhoods and venture further. If you're from New Orleans, I'd love to hear your opinion on this guide. Do you think it represents New Orleans well? Thanks for watching. Which food option do you want to try? Leave a comment below and check out the video shown on the end screen for more food content.